What is the most important thing when creating courses for farmers?
My name's Michael Ayres. I work with Field Systems out of Adelaide. We work throughout mostly southern Australia, but all around Australia in agriculture, but primarily soil consulting, advisory, and a large part of it is research in that space. So that's what we're involved in. So there's an academic side, but it's very much focused on practical, governed outcomes for farmers, and just teaching them, if you like, how they can make more money from the data that we've collected on their farm. That's really what we do. So we do manage a lot of data, and can be very complex, and we take that information and try and make it very simple. Hence why we're having this conversation, which is how we drew ourselves back into this medium, in relation to Coursebox.
Before this project, how involved were you in creating learning content or courses?
We were heavily involved in creating courses, but it was almost that handwritten style. So we were involved in collecting data on farms individually, and then training 30 or 40 farmers, or 3 or 5, so we are constantly taking information in, making sense of it. It's more the abacus style of doing it, cranking our way through that data and trying to make sense of it and putting it into spreadsheets and then deciphering it from there. So it's always taken a lot of time.
What does a long time mean for you creating a course?
Creating a course, we've built training manuals for farmers and agronomists, and been involved in some of the university stuff, but also different grower groups and getting materials together, putting podcasts together, doing webinars, but getting written material down and evidence for farmers to make sense of. So getting the complexity and making it very simple. So you can see why AI, when it's popped up, is a godsend for us.
So just to be clear, before this project, you had no background in creating online courses. You are not a trainer or an instructional designer, right?
We haven't created any online courses. So that was, not that that's an issue, but I know that's where it needs to go, because farmers are time poor. Agriculture, they're time poor. They need the right amount of information. They need the correct information at the right time during a season to help them make a decision. So it needs to be accurate, needs to have been peer reviewed, it needs to be suited to their particular climate and their management style and those sorts of things. So it's becoming more complex. So to do it the way we've done it in the past is too tough. So there's been a big gap then. And
so you had to innovate.
Had to innovate, and spoken early on with Coursebox, and then we put that information into a pilot project with GGA, the Grower Group Alliance here in WA, and then they helped us get going. But this was only 3 or 4 years ago. 3 years ago when we did this, and we didn't have capacity to use AI. And we were still looking at putting it onto a website to generate information for farmers to have access to, and so they could learn on the fly. But we didn't have AI, and things have changed so massively now into this space that this is how we are going to, as an industry, I think, deliver so much more information.
So can you briefly explain the vision behind Grower Group Alliance and the role education plays in that mission?
Yeah, so we've taken on, I'm originally from WA, but moved to South Australia. So my awareness of GGA has been for some time, but it's a Grower Group Alliance. So it's the individual grower groups representing their particular isolated area of interest, whether it's viticulture, horticulture, or whatever. And then you've got your area group, so the grower groups that represent an area, like the Levy group or the Minginyu group or whatever, the groups isolated to an area. So I think there's about 90 something groups in WA, of which 61 or 2 are active. Don't quote me there, I think. So there's a lot of people involved and a lot of grower groups. And their mission, if you like, is for their own members to provide information as a service and do the research, involve everyone in that group in advancing their own agricultural systems. There's an overarching body that controls but kind of regulates all of those grower groups, and that's the Grower Group Alliance.
If I understand correctly, GGA asked you to help them create courses?
Early on, worked initially with GGA on a very small project for we were looking to deal with crop stress, plant stress at different times of the season, and where different treatments, or largely micronutrients or fertilizer use, was best placed in the right volume, place, time. And so we were looking at that, and then looking to provide that, not as a course as such, but a hub of information where farmers could draw all that information from and make sense of it. That can be a bit risky because people don't necessarily go and find something, even though it's all there and it was amazing information, we thought it would be. You need to turn it into something that's a bit more interactive and reactive, and that they can pickpocket and go and steal bits and pieces of information from in relation to what time of the year it is, what crop they're growing, and they can sit and learn in 20 minutes enough information that's accurate and reliable and peer reviewed and makes sense, and it's in a form that they can understand and they can act on, which sounds simple, but that's not that simple. So this is where then GGA had used Coursebox in that carbon outreach program, and then we'd spoken to them again from that original work we did, small piece of work, to not to build out courses, but work out how we actually build out these courses. How are we going to do that? Because it's not just this course in this space. If we're looking at it for heat stress in wheat, or we've got zinc deficiency in lupins or something like that, this was mostly from a cropping perspective, but it could be for anything. All people are different how they learn, and it depends what time of the day or what they're doing or what else they've got on. So the microlearning part of Coursebox is you can get a video and someone can read out the information to you and do it in 20 minutes, 2 minutes, 4 minutes. You can set it differently, summarize it. You can set it up so you can select, if you're going in there, just for a 2-minute version of why you need zinc on the seed for germination, emergence and early vigor in a wheat crop, say. You can do that, I know that. And then if you want more information, you can deep dive. So you kind of start with this it's all micro learning, little pockets of micro learning, but you can set these courses up so well that you can just take the pieces you need at the time. I think originally we'd build a course and everyone had to follow that structure. But now within the course, you can do it however you like. Some people listen to webinars, podcasts and things. It's kind of, with AI, you can put all of that stuff in there. You could put the farmer's face in there and have him talking to himself. I mean, that's how clever it is now, but reading out whatever you wanted to. If they don't have time to read it, they can listen to it traveling on a tractor or whatever, at the times that they need to. But it is very much, the better the information you put in, the better the questions you ask of AI to deliver the course, the more nuanced they are and more accurate, the more amazing the information that comes back is. And
also to know and understand your target audience. I mean, you have to kind of know how farmers want to learn and how they can actually learn in order to create an engaging course for them, because without knowing and understanding how they learn or how they want to learn, it doesn't matter
Farmers
what you create.
Farmers are visual interactive, so we've got mediums now with Coursebox and AI that we haven't had before. But if they have to read something on a piece of paper and it doesn't have context necessarily, everyone's the same, whether you're an absolute academic or not, we're all still visual interactive. So this medium of building a course that you can pull pieces out of as you need it, or you can do a lot more of it some days than others, and those sort of things. You could touch it 3 times a year and still find 2-3 little minute windows to give you the information you need to act in relation to drought stress and whatever. It's an incredible way, and we didn't start off 3 years ago thinking this because we didn't have access to the AI capacity we have now, and it's building so quickly. Even with Coursebox, the changes in the last couple of months to suit us pulling information in from elsewhere and drawing them back in and rebuilding courses based on new papers. We can get new research papers, or we can isolate it into the top 15 papers in that space, absolutely complex, pull them all to bits, reference them, do everything we need to, get it peer reviewed academically, do all that stuff, and then draw that back into the course so you know that you are giving absolutely accurate information to the day. And it's phenomenal because you can just get the course and just rebuild it by adding 3 more papers with 3 more pieces of very important evidence in that space.
For you specifically, what is the most important thing when creating courses for farmers?
The most important thing for creating courses for farmers is, to be brutal here, I understand it and I'm entertained by it and I like it. And I work with farmers I know, well, was a farmer as well, but I know how they're going to be thinking, and it needs to have that visual, interactive, very quick, short time frame pickup. You have to pick things up quickly. It's nothing to do with intelligence, it's just they're time poor, they've got stuff on. I need to know this now.
As someone who understands the subject deeply, but not course design, what did Coursebox take off your plate immediately?
There was a 4-year, mostly through, but nearly ended up being a 4-year project on nutrient management in farming in South Australia that we had to write up at the end of it. And we picked it up at the end of the project life. We hadn't been involved in it early on, and so we picked it up and had to make sense of it. That took 2 weeks. We can feed that into AI. We could deliver a course on that information through Coursebox using all the data, but the data will, and all checked off on, but you could do that all in a day now. So you get those jobs done easily, and it's just not making sense of it. You can turn it into a course to deliver that information back to the grower group that we did it for, which we're members of. Like, that's insane. So it's not, you're not losing work. It would come at much less cost, I get that. So I think we can do a lot more at far less cost.
If someone else in your position, an industry expert with no background in online course creation, asked you what Coursebox actually does, how would you explain it?
If someone asked me what Coursebox does and they didn't have any background knowledge on what it does, it simply gets all the information you can think of, all the packets and pockets and pickpocketed pieces of information you can find. It gets that and narrows it down with a very narrow band of focus to the question you're wanting to know, and it can summarize it in a way that you can understand very well. So it takes complexity and gives you an answer. It doesn't necessarily offer more complexity. And that's what happens when the old model is you just learn and you keep learning and you get more papers and you look at more information, you can Google, and it just becomes so complex, and then the human mind can't piece everything together that it's got and put it into a 200-word summary like this can in that particular space on that particular subject. That's how phenomenal it is, which is what AI is. Coursebox has been great. GGA have got into this space because they know we need to be in this space, and Coursebox has been available, but Coursebox is rapidly, like we're using AI, Coursebox is rapidly changing as well to keep up with the questions we're asking. You know, punching more information and rebuilding a course the next day. You've built it all. New papers, new research comes out. You want to put more information in this space or on a certain subject. You just bring it in and it just crunches it into a course and rebuilds it. Still got the old course, it just adds more. Yeah, so very clever. Like I get, so it just solves so many issues for us in ag. It's just, we're not going to get as bogged down as we used to trying to make sense of stuff. And then people ignoring information because it's just too complex. I want to know it, but unless someone can explain it to me in a form that I can use, which is what Coursebox delivers on here, unless it's in a form I can use, make sense of and make money out of, I'm not going to do it. So that's the big step change I think we've seen with something like Coursebox now.
So how many people will you actually reach with these courses?
In Western Australia, through the GGA or the networks that exist with the grower groups and the farmers themselves in WA, it'll go to thousands of farmers here not as a test case. I mean, they're building it, they'll own it and they'll understand it best, but I think in time, more broadly, this opportunity will exist for other farmers in Australia. And you'll see around the world different.
Thank you very much for joining me in the interview. Where can people find you and GGA?
Well, GGA is here in WA, the overarching body that represents all of the grower groups. GGA, absolute credit to them, has taken this extended program to try and build out how we can use AI effectively and not just have it sit somewhere and farmers don't use it. So effectively related to each individual season and the nuances and changes and things that happen in a season that we have to adjust to, have this mechanism, because it's not really it's a course, it's come from Coursebox, it's a course structure, but it's this pool of information that's so well structured that you can enter at any point to get the information that you need.